We now have the blessing of hearing some remarks from our president of Shari Torah, David Fryman.
Good Yontiv. In 2016, along with a friend, I took a 3-hour train ride from Dublin, Ireland, across the border to Belfast, Northern Ireland. This was just after the Brexit vote, and the island was in a state of shock. What would Brexit mean for this island? Would it reopen scars of war that had been healing since 1998? How would this beautiful, small but influential island find its way through the uncertainty of the next few years? Well, over the past couple of years, Shari Torah has had a lot of open questions ourselves. Who would our next rabbi be? How long will it take to find him? Or her? Or them? When will we be back to normal operations? What have we learned over the past 2 years that can help us come back stronger than ever? The true impact that Brexit will have on the border between Ireland and the UK is still an unknown. If you've been to Belfast, though, you know that the wisdom of the ages, much of which the world needs right now, is all over the walls. Belfast is known for murals, beautiful murals all over the city that speak to the horrors of violence and a yearning for peace. One such mural that has struck me more than any of the other amazing examples I saw that day has colored my approach to leadership. This mural includes an unattributed quote that you may have heard me discuss in the past. A nation that keeps one eye on the past is wise. A nation that keeps 2 eyes on the past is blind. Along with fellow Jews around the world, we gather again for Yom Kippur. Our hybrid approach requires that physical and virtual participation both contribute to creating community today. Throughout Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we've heard the refrain of the 3 R's: return, renew, rejoice. These simple words represent hope for the new year and an optimism felt by leadership. Return, renew, rejoice are words that give us strength as we hopefully enter a post-pandemic future. But the truth is that even in the roughest points of lockdown, the spirit of return, renew, rejoice was always with us. For the past 18 months, we've looked for a time when we could return to the building, but we did not need to return to the building to rejoice. Our Zoom services led by Rabbi Mark, Rabbi Tyler, Rabbi Julie, Arena, Hannah, Mike, and Rebecca were inspiring. Minions on Demand, organized by Carolyn Morris Solomon and led by several different community members, have provided the opportunity to support those who've suffered a loss or were remembering a loved one. I even attended Zoom brisses and Zoom baby namings, and there's nothing quite as amazing as welcoming new life into our community. We didn't need access to our building to renew our spirit because during lockdown, we made great strides to push our synagogue forward to become a stronger, more responsive community. Even when locked out of the sanctuary, we never stopped building towards the community we want and the community future generations deserve. Over the past year, I've been asked a number of times how and why I became president of a synagogue at a relatively young age. At 39 years old, I'm the second youngest president our congregation has ever had. A piece of Shari Torah trivia is that Rich Hanloff was 12 years old when he was in the earlier days of the congregation. The truth is, Shari Torah tends to ask members to step into meaningful roles at younger ages than most synagogues do. This has helped us stay innovative. Presidents who still have children in the religious school have no choice but to cater to the next generation. I chose leadership as my path at Shari Torah because this place is unlike any other synagogue I've ever attended. I grew up at a giant synagogue with thousands of families and likely tens of millions of dollars in the bank. Where I grew up, members were consumers of Judaism, and the large staff and several rabbis with the best of intentions offered programming they felt we needed. As members of our family did not feel all that important, we took what our synagogue provided, and we were not empowered to question those offerings. Not long after we joined Shari Torah, Soren Schwartz, Michael Salgala, Bill Resnickow, and Adam Frieder got me involved in the men's club. I took on increasing responsibilities until I was ultimately made president. That was not the plan. But I found an outlet at Shari Torah that I enjoyed, and I found that I could make a real difference in this community, and the secret is you can too. At Shari Torah, our members are the community. Every single family is important, and every single family has a role to play. I felt drawn to leadership here because my leadership was needed, as is yours. Right after Anna and I joined Shari Torah, we attended Yom Kippur services at Lakelands Park. At that service, then President Paul Fronston Ask those in attendance to look to the person to the left and to the right, or the Zoom box to the left or the right. Go ahead, take a look. He said that 1 out of every 3 synagogue members is capable of being president. His point was, if the person to your left is unlikely to be a future president and the person to your right might not have what it takes, then that means you may be needed to step into that role at some point in the future. A dozen or so years later, and I've got to say, Paul was right. From what I've seen out of our volunteer leaders this year, from members of the board to members of the prayer team, the religious life committee, the transition committee, the finance committee, and all the committees in between, I estimate there are at least 50 people listening to my voice right now who could absolutely be a successful Shari Torah president. And the truth is, your leadership is needed. Even if you do not choose to be president, there's an important role for you in leadership. It's up to leaders like me to help you find that path to where you can get involved, to make a difference, and to help secure the future of our congregation. The best time to get involved in Shari Torah leadership, probably 5 years ago. The second best time is today. If you have finance and accounting skills to bring to the table, let's get you on the finance committee. If you have opinions on how services should be run, let's get you on the religious life committee. If you have a background in education, the education committee might be right for you. If you have an understanding of building maintenance, we can use your help. If you like engaging with new friends and planning events, let's get you on the membership, social action, or social justice committees. Return, renew, rejoice. Though the 3 R's represent our path forward very well, I'd like to add a 4th R word, relevance. Conservative Judaism exists in many ways to bridge ancient Jewish traditions and beliefs to modern society, to make Judaism accessible and relevant. As modern society progresses, it's up to leaders within the conservative movement and right here at Shari Torah to keep Judaism relevant for the future. Jewish institutions often rely on the past to dictate our present and to guide our future. What we may not realize, though, is that our ancestors made changes constantly to fit their needs. When the Second Temple was destroyed, our ancestors reinvented Judaism and the rabbinic tradition. While in exile, our people developed Ladino and Yiddish to adapt to their new homes in Europe and North Africa without sacrificing Hebrew. Part of the Shari Torah commitment to keeping Judaism relevant was our work to find the right rabbinic leadership. We found Rabbi Annie and Rabbi Yosef. As we saw last week at Rosh Hashanah services, including the wildly well-attended Tashlich service, they are a dynamic and inspiring rabbinic duo. We are incredibly fortunate. The 2 rabbi model is a departure from how we've operated for the first 24 years of our community. During the rabbi search process, the search team saw an opportunity to make a change, to build a community that meets our current needs, to envision a more relevant Jewish future for the next generation. We're building the synagogue that will work for our generation and maybe the next 1 or 2, until future generations picks up the baton and change to something that fits them, even if that includes changes we would not support or even understand. That's our real tradition, not stagnation, but reinvention and relevance. We will see changes at Shari Torah, if for no other reason than a change in leadership inevitably leads to change in practices. Different prayer tunes, a new flow to service, a different approach to programming. I look forward to these changes. Some changes may come quickly. Some will develop over time. Some changes will be successful and some attempts at change will fail. I ask that we all try to be optimistic, to embrace the changes. And I ask that you propose new practices, new customs that can add meaning and relevance to your synagogue experience. It's not just okay for us to chart our own path. It's our duty to chart a path that will ensure that Shari Torah and Judaism remain relevant to aid the survival of our people. From what I've seen over the last 18 months, if there is any community in this country that is up to that task, it is most certainly Shari Torah. And if we move forward with open minds and open hearts, I'm excited to see what we can build together. I learned one of my favorite Jewish quotes from Rabbi Annie during the rabbi search process. She quoted Mordechai Kaplan as saying, "The past has a vote, but not a veto." It's up to us to translate thousands of years of Jewish wisdom and insights into modern day relevance. When I was considering taking on the first vice president role, I was about 35 years old, and Adina was 3. I made it clear that for me to succeed as a near future president, I would need everyone to bring their A games. And I've been blown away by the passion and dedication you have all shown. Last year, the community stepped up with a tremendous annual campaign during a time of serious economic uncertainty. I want to thank those of you who've already made a commitment to this year's annual campaign. Our community is fortunate that the list of people who've stepped up in amazing ways this year is too long to read out in one speech. What Jen Schnur and Connie List have done as transition co-chairs is nothing short of magic. Rena Strauss, the Religious Life Committee, along with our prayer team, the rabbis have innovated throughout the year to keep our services fresh, our events impactful, and our spirits high. Brian Abraham, Alan Liss, and the COVID Task Force helped to keep us safe while moving our community forward. Paul Franzen and the Finance Committee navigated the past year and a half with tremendous focus, frankly, brilliance, to lead us to a place of financial stability in a time of serious financial instability. The Rabbi Search Team dedicated countless hours to their task. They left no stone unturned. They checked every reference. They asked the hard questions. Not a slacker in the bunch. The search team made a bold recommendation to change our approach to rabbinic leadership. They built a vision, and the board and our community bought in. While serving on the very busy Rabbi Search Team, Avi Friedman made an additional investment in Shari Torah by leading our annual campaign efforts last year and this year. He's reframed and matured how we view Jewish philanthropy at Shari Torah, and he's taught leadership to build development and sustainability into our entire calendar. If you have not yet had an opportunity to make a commitment to this year's campaign, please email Avi Friedman, Matt Oziel, Deb Geiger, or me, or just call the office to discuss and record your pledge. Many of us have increased our commitments from last year, and I ask that you do the same if you are able. We've done well to grow and strengthen our community during lockdown, but it wasn't cheap. And tent rentals are surprisingly expensive. Thank you for your financial contributions and commitment to helping us reach this day. One person we, and I personally cannot thank enough, is Sheila Berlinger. Sheila's term as president included probably the three most difficult challenges our community has ever seen. Sheila's leadership and foresight are why we can enjoy the growth and success we see today. Sheila, I thank you for choosing me as your vice president and for setting the community up to succeed for generations. Over the past 2 years, our staff has been a tremendous example of leadership in a difficult period. Thanks to Matt Oziel, Deb Geiger, and Allison Kolker, our ECC and religious schools are thriving and growing, and the impact they're having on our community cannot be measured. Our staff has pivoted constantly throughout the year to meet the needs of the community. It's not been easy for them, and they have put in a ton of hours, but their passion for Shari Torah has not waned. Thank you to Matt, Deb, Allison, Jen, Beth Ann, our ECC and religious school teachers, our B'nai Mitzvah tutors, and a warm welcome to our new Shlichah from Israel, Sapir, who's already made a great impact on our community in just over a month. I don't think Rabbi Mark is here today, as he has been called back to help lead services at Kehilat Shalom. This is unfortunate, because I would love a chance to sing his praises directly to him. When we shut our building down last year, Rabbi Mark stepped up to serve the community with devotion, respect, and brilliance. When in rabbinical school, I don't think Rabbi Mark ever thought he would need to reshape Jewish observance during a pandemic, let alone do so when he was supposed to be retired. Rabbi Mark's the kind of rabbi every rabbi should want to grow up to be. He's warm, he's knowledgeable, he's a teacher, he's open, he's humble. He takes his job seriously, but doesn't seem to take himself too seriously. His experience and confidence allow his opinions to come across less like rabbinic decrees and more like someone sharing his point of view. We were in a bind last summer when Rabbi Mark stepped up and into the consulting rabbi role. Immediately, he made apparent through his dedication and commitment to Shari Torah during a rough time that he was exactly what we needed. We have many leaders throughout our community who do not get recognized nearly enough. We thank the leaders who organize the Men's Club Softball League, the leaders that host new members for Shabbat dinner when we're not in a pandemic, the leaders who serve as greeters during Shabbat, the leaders who help assemble furniture around the building or deliver meals to a family in need, family in mourning. The leaders that attend funerals and shivas, even when they don't personally know the deceased or their families. The leaders that make minyans so mourners can say Kaddish, and the leaders who rarely, if ever, turn down a request for help or a request for a donation. You are the backbone of our community, and we could not succeed without you. It's never easy being the husband or wife of a synagogue president. Thank you, Anna, for being a true partner. Not only is Anna a tremendous wife and an outstanding mother to Adina, but she also gives a lot of her time and HR knowledge to Shari Torah. Anna wrote the Shari Torah employee handbook a couple of years ago and now is partnering with board member Paul Springer to build a stronger HR program at Shari Torah. Thank you for all you do for our community and our family. Adina just loves Shari Torah. She loves religious school. She loves coming to services. She loves playing with Annabelle, Simon, Henry, Zohar, Sheer, Zoe, Bella, Eva, Maisie, Marley, Ian, Elan, Tamir on Shabbat mornings, just so long as there's a lollipop at the end of the service. Though she's not in here to personally thank, I would like to thank all of you for making her feel at home and welcome and comfortable in this building. I apologize for whom I'm about to quote in this address. Really, I surprised myself. But as Peyton Manning said in his NFL Hall of Fame induction speech last month, a legacy is only worthwhile when there is a future to fuel. The relevance of our community is built through the next generation. The children are our future, and if we remember that all of our work here is for them, for their Jewish futures, I know we will continue to innovate to leave behind the community that they deserve. Like the Belfast mural advises, let's keep one eye on the past and one eye looking forward to that future. Let's commit ourselves here and now to focus on the future, a Jewish future for our children, nieces and nephews, grandkids and neighbors. By committing ourselves to making Judaism relevant to the next generation, we are ensuring the future of the Jewish people, and there is no more relevant responsibility for our generation today. I wish you all a meaningful fast and a sweet new year, and I look forward to seeing what we can continue to build.